right, everybody, we are back for episode, I want to say this is episode 12, might be episode 13. Who knows? We've been rolling. It's been hot on here in these streets. As always, it's your boy, Coach Coop, my boy, Jay, reporting live from Europe. As always, hit the comment below button, hit subscribe, like, all that good stuff to go ahead and continue to boost this up. And before I introduce our special guest today, I want to say a big shout out to my boys over at Swagger Worldwide. Sent me a whole package of gear to help me swag it out for pregame and in-game gear. If you have a chance, check them out at Swagger Worldwide. They are based out of Italy. But all that said, here we are on episode whatever number it is, and we've got a super, super special guest, our first woman in the game. It is going to be Ester out of Brazil. Now, Ester comes from a long background, right? She is born and raised in Brazil, plays quarterback for the Rio Preto Wilders, and plays for Team Brazil for the flag football team, is actually the quarterback there, has played on multiple tackle football teams in Brazil, women's tackle football, right? And on top of that, she is the quarterback's coach for the national team. She is the quarterback's coach for the flag football team. She is a quarterback's coach for the men's team in the Rio Preto Wilders. Man, that is a heck of a resume. But even more important, she just got back from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coaching pathway, where she was one of four. We might as well say one of two, honestly, because John Matthews, we won't count him as an international guy because he's been over here in Europe for a long time. And then Danny, he's also worked in America. So we'll say one of two international coaches to be invited to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Coaching Academy. Ester, thank you for being here with us. And it's even more wild that our path has somehow weirdly crossed when I was down in Brazil in 2020 before COVID happened. And just like now having you here on the show, welcome.
Thank you. Super excited about it.
Yes. So let's straight into this. So you're in Brazil, right? And I don't know, many people might not know that football is actually happening in Brazil, but what got you into football?
That's always a good question. I was able to, meet football when I was 10 years old. And in Brazil, that's not really usual, especially talking about 14 years ago, because the NFL was not that huge and things like that. Not many people were fans. But my brother was an NFL fan. And because of him, I started watching football. And playing football, being around football was not really an option, so I was just a fan in general. But my brother started playing football at the time. I was actually at the first tackle, first official full equipment tackle game. I was there watching the game in 2008. And since then, I have been passionate about the sport, but I never thought I would have the option of playing or coaching or whatever. But then in 2014, when I was doing the transition from high school to college, I found a women's tackle football team in my city, Curitiba. That's where I'm from. And then I started playing, never quit. So 10 years later, here am I.
Wow. And so what position did you start off as?
I actually started as receiver, and then I made the transition to a quarterback because that's what the team needed at the time.
Was it what the team needed, or did you just saw somebody play quarterback and you're like, yo, I want to be that person? You're like that person that's always got the ball.
No, I didn't want at all, because I knew, obviously after starting playing, you learn other parts of football, but from watching football for a long time, I didn't want to be the quarterback, all the responsibility, the pressure. I just wanted to have fun, so I wanted to be a receiver. But then seeing that I had the leadership skills to be the quarterback, and I had enough talent, I don't know, or just the will to put the work in, I said, all right, so I'm going to be the quarterback because the team needs a quarterback. So that was it.
So your brother first started playing, and then you decided to start playing. Now, tell me, how does that conversation go, at home, with your parents? Like, hey, mom, dad, I want to play football. We're talking about tackle football. This isn't something that you see a lot of women. Now, nowadays you do, right? The barrier has been broken to where you see a lot of women playing, but you're what? How old did you say you were when you first started?
When I started, I was 17.
Right, and then you're asking your parents to go play tackle football. Like, what was that like?
Right. So the time that my brother was playing, he was teaching me pretty much the general stuff. So like we were playing football in the backyard. So my parents have seen me playing like or trying to play football or be around football since I was 11, I want to say. So they knew my passion for the sport. When the time, like when I found about the team, like I actually needed their support because it was really far from home. And here in Brazil, you can get your driver's license only when you are 18. So I couldn't drive myself to practice. It was pretty far to go by bus. So they had to drive me and wait and drive me back. So like I really needed their support. And what's the craziest part about it? And they is that not they only um, supported me about playing after I want to say 6 months, my mom started playing on my team.
What?
So yeah, because think about it, she was driving me to practice. She was waiting down there for 2 hours, like sitting here watching. She was like, you need players. I'm just here. Why not? So yeah, my mom played too. So in general, my family has been really, really supportive, especially because my mom was able to like be around, especially in this beginning. In 2016, I decided to play for a team in Rio because our team wasn't ready to play yet, but I needed the experience as a coach and quarterback. I needed to have more games. And my family supported me emotionally, financially, everything. So I can't complain, honestly.
That's
That's
super
awesome.
dope. Yo, to have your mom out there, like Jay, could you imagine like your dad like suiting up and like he's playing right alongside you right now? Like imagine that,
I'm
bro.
jealous.
Yeah,
I'm a jealous.
like that's such a cool experience, like something that you get to take with you for like the rest of your life. Like you played football with your mom. Like
Yeah.
that's cool, and also your brother being involved. I mean, so you say you switched teams and you went to a team in Rio. What was that transition like?
So I didn't really switch teams. What I did was our team it took us, I want to say 3 years to have a roster big enough to be able to play and to participate in the championships and stuff. But this team in Rio, they were really experienced already. So what I was doing is like once like one weekend of every month, I would travel to Rio to practice with them and then play with them. So like I wasn't really in Rio at all. I was just traveling to practice and play. So I would go back and forth like pretty much every month. So that's how it worked. And for me, it was really good to see like they were a more experienced team. So I could like take input on the things that they did good and the things I didn't agree and like do different in the program that I was running because that's the crazy thing about football in Brazil, especially when you don't have that many human resources. After I don't know, I want to say 6 months playing, I had to step up as the head coach because like we didn't have coaches anymore. So like we didn't have coaches. Like I was the one that knew football for I don't know 10 years already or something like that. So I began to coach the team and play and do the managing part of it. So at the beginning was actually a lot of different responsibilities on me. So like being able to see this other program and like not having anything to do with it and learning from it and making decisions. Okay, so this is the way we want to go. We're not this we can do as they do, or this I think we should go in a different way. And the long story short, in 2019, I want to say 3 or 4 years later of this whole experience, we played the national championship game against most of those players that I was able to play, and we beat them. So that was really interesting for me, kind of full circle story, I think.
That's
That's dope.
that's crazy. To 6 months in that you're like playing and coaching. So you're a quarterback, you're the head coach, and you're having to deal with management side of things too, while also still going and practicing with another team. Uh, how you know what I mean? Like, cause how? Yeah, you know a lot. You know a good amount about football, but like, how much did you know about being, a head coach?
I didn't know at all. Like, not even football. I mean, I understood the game and like how the game works. I was pretty comfortable about that. and I knew some things about specific positions in the offense, but like not enough to be a coach. But the thing is, as at the same time I was starting, I mentioned I was transitioning between high school and college, right? I was starting my PE major. So like I was already a teacher, that was a thing, and I think that has always been my, I want to say like strong a strength, I want to say. Um being a teacher, so it was what I knew I didn't know enough. So at the beginning, I remember I decided to, okay, so we're gonna think about this plan for, I don't know, I want to say the first 6 months, because I needed to study to be ready to coach. So we didn't have enough players at the beginning. I said, all right, everybody's gonna practice in all positions, so I could have time to learn something about the position before teaching them about it. So I don't know, the first, I want to say, for weeks we focused on skills, so receivers and DBs. So I knew something about receivers already. I didn't know enough about DBs, but I was studying it, so I was able to learn and teach, like one thing next to the other. And then after that, I knew I didn't know enough about O-line, D-line, so I was trying to find guys from the men's team that could go in some practices and help, so I could like pick their brains, this kind of stuff. But I mean, I was able to do all these three parts because the team was really small at the beginning. I was able to do this until our first competitive season, that I was the president, head coach, and quarterback. But it was just really, really challenging. It's hard because these positions kind of compete between themselves. It's hard to be the quarterback and have to make decisions in game. And one thing that I was always able to do, and I think that's something I did well, was to delegate responsibilities to other people. Even though I was the head coach, like in game, I knew I was playing, so I wouldn't be able to make decisions, and I let other people make those decisions. Yeah, I think that was it. But I didn't know anything, not enough.
Yeah, that's I know I couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Like being able to be a defensive coordinator or even a head coach while I'm still trying to play. It's a lot because you, again, like you said, like you delegated really well, but some people aren't good at that part. Like some people would take it to the head, like, no, I'm going to run this play and do this like the way I want to do it, and that's how it's going to be done because I'm the head coach or I'm the OC or the defensive coordinator, and I'm also playing in a position that calls those plays. So kudos to you for being able to step back, swallow the pride, and let somebody else delegate and like make those calls during the game while you're playing. So the transition though, like, because your whole time you've been playing, you've been coaching, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Which side do you prefer to be on more, right? Like, do you decide to be on like the player side or the coach's side?
That's a tough question, I think, because I love different thing about both things. The thing is that as a player, an athlete, you have just an amount of expectations that you can get as a woman playing football. So at some point, I understood I wanted to be working with football, like that was my goal. And if I wanted to be able to keep being on foot in football, like I had to coach in a different level that I was coaching at the time. So I want to say, since 2018, I started preparing myself to be a coach. So until this time that I was explaining to you guys, I was playing and coaching the same team. But on 2018, I understood, okay, so we cannot do this anymore. I was preparing a coaching staff to step up and take my place on that. But then on 2018, from the second semester on, I decided that I wanted to be coaching a men's team and playing on my team. So I was able to do both, but not like it was at the same time, but not really. So the roles were not like crossing over. I don't know if that makes sense, but like I love playing. I really enjoy. That's why I still play flag. I remember when the Weilers, they our first conversations about hire me, I said, all right, I want to go, but I will be the coach for the flag team only if I can still play. Like I'm not ready to quit playing. And they were like, all right, if you can do both, like go for it, do your thing. So for the last 2.5 years, I have been coaching and playing flag because I'm just not ready to quit playing. But I love coaching as well because I love to teach. So it's just, I don't know, conflict.
No, yeah, that's awesome. I feel like you're further ahead than most head coaches that I've had, where it's like knowing not to always, micromanage and being able to delegate to other people. I feel like those are just like fundamental things that you have to be able to do as a head coach. Well, like, what do you think are some things that you have learned from, like, your early stages of coaching to like now? What are like the biggest takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like the level of football that we cannot even compare what I knew and what I know now. Like after 10 years doing that, and I think I want to say the first thing is that I have been always eager to learn and talk to people and ask questions. And I think that's something I had at the beginning, I still have right now, and I believe that this is something that made me come to where I am right now. I remember the first time you asked me, "Oh, so how much did you know when you started coaching, or like how was your football knowledge, whatever?" I remember going to my first coaching summit, whatever, and I was the only woman coach there, and I didn't even know how to count a box. Like, okay, if we're talking football wise, okay, so how do we run an inside zone? Like that's just the main rug concept, like if you are an offensive coordinator or coach, you know how the inside zone works. And I had no clue. Okay, so we're talking about counting the box. How do we count the box? Who's the mic? Like I had no clue. And I came to this O-line coach. He was like a big reference. I was like, okay, coach, I need to install an offense. I have no clue like where to start. Can you teach me how to count a box? And like he took my notebook and he was like drawing the O-line, drawing the D-line, the backers, and like teaching me. Okay, so anyway, so I think this asking mentality, I don't know if that makes sense. So I think that's something that I had in the beginning, I still have right now, especially if we look at the experience that I just had at Tampa. You have to ask questions because people, in general, people are willing to help you, but you got to reach out. So I think that's one thing. The other is to be more clear about communicating expectations. That's something I learned in the past 2 years, I want to say, especially with my teaching background. That helps because one part that I forgot to mention, like coaching right now is my part-time job. I teach English too. And at the school that I teach, we have a really good methodology, and I learned some things that I can transition to my coaching part of life anyway. And that's something that I learned about teaching kids. Like you have to communicate your expectations really clearly. We take some things for granted, like, oh, that's just obvious, that's what's expected from you, you have to do this because anyway. And that's one thing that I'm trying to be better as a coach. For example, I'm going to be more specific when we're talking about players that believe they deserve more playing time. Like that's a struggle that we have. Like for us, it's obvious. Okay, you're not performing on practices. Like how can you not see that? And they just don't see at all. So it's our job as coaches to communicate. Like, all right, so that's what you think it is, but like that's what I'm seeing. That's what I expect from you. When you get to this point, I can give you more playing time because of this or that. So right now I'm talking just playing time, but like when you're talking about drills, maybe sometimes we get really frustrated because we think we communicated everything we expect from them during the like to perform the drill, but we didn't really, like we were not clear enough. So that's something I learned in the last, I want to say, 3 years, have been helping me a lot.
Awesome.
So yeah, I mean, you're way more advanced, I'd say, than a lot of other coaches.
Yeah, way ahead of the curve.
Especially in this game. But you talk about players just talking about getting playing time or maybe not understanding like the communication of the drill. Now you're also coaching a men's team, right? And you're a woman in the industry that is heavily dominated or been dominated over the years by men, and now recently has gotten a lot better. How do you navigate through that and actually get? I honestly can't tell you that I've ever had a woman coach, right? So I don't know what it's like to be coached like by a woman. I wouldn't think it's any different, right? Just because, I mean, if you know the sport, you know the sport, right? If you can help me get better, you can help me get better, regardless if you're
Right.
coaching me in the weight room or if you're coaching me on the field. But how do you get that across to the guys that you're coaching that, hey, you know just as much or even more about football, that you can help them become better football players too?
I think I have been fortunate enough to be in good programs during my I don't know, history in football. The fact that I played and I did a lot of good things playing helps them to respect me, even though they don't really know me, or like I think once I get to a place or to a program, the fact that I did what I did as a player, like that kind of bring the respect a little bit. But I understood really early that it was all about gaining their trust, and that's something like people just don't give your trust. You have to earn the trust. So I always worked to build this relationship with the players, you know. And at the end, it's what you said. Once they see that you're just trying to help and you can't help them, like they don't really care that much. I mean, some players like uh like we can have some difficulties and hard situations, but I was fortunate enough to not be on those, especially because I always had the other coaches. How can I say that? My English is missing now. Support. I want to say support. So like once the head
respect and
coach,
support from them.
yeah. So once the head coach hires you, like they're not gonna say like they respect the head coach, so they're gonna respect you somehow. Not necessarily they're gonna listen to you at the beginning. Then comes the part that what I just said, like it's about gaining their trust, and I understand the trust you can get from like 3 different aspects. The first one is connection. You gotta connect. Like I'm a person, you are a person. Like we just need connection. And how can we connect as people? I think that's the first part of it. The second one is character. It's about like doing what you say that you're gonna do, and that's for me, and that's for you as a player. And the third one is I don't know how to say that in English. No, competence. It's the same word in English and Portuguese, I think. So, like, once you show that you have the competence to do it and you show results and you know what you're talking about, one thing leads to the other. So, I believe that all my coaching journey, especially when we're talking about coaching men, has been developed around these 3 aspects. And once they see that you are out there grinding with them as much as they are, they respect you. That has been my experience. Yeah.
I know this isn't proper to ask a lady, but Esther, how old are you?
I don't mind. I'm 26.
26.
Yeah.
Now
Oh,
you talk
wow.
like you've been
You gotta,
you've been in the game for a minute.
for real.
Like she just broke down 3 ways on how she gets athlete or her players to communicate and buy into her being a coach in a way that like we've heard all these things, right? Obviously, like we've been in the game long enough, and like we
Yeah.
know all this stuff, like what makes a good coach. But like you at 26, you just
could
broke
lead a
it down and
seminar
fully
to
understood.
the
Like
older coaches.
you know what I mean? Like we done had some coaches that don't even know what the fuck you just said. Excuse my language.
Yeah, but I mean, I think this mentality of like being eager to learn, like that's not something I came up with, and that's something we know about football. You don't create stuff; you just copy from people that are doing it good. And I learned this from like reading the stories of other great coaches. Like you just start like some things they make sense for you, and you just take those in, and put them in practice. So I would say that's the reason that I'm able to have all this, I don't know, maybe mature understanding of the game and the player coaching relationship. It was because I was able to see those information and bring it to me and put it to practice, I think.
That's super dope. But on top of that, like, so you're coaching a position that's super tough. I would say probably number 1 hardest position in football outside of playing corner, right? How did you learn to coach quarterback, and who are you like continuing to learn from to help elevate your quarterbacks?
I think the fact that I played quarterback helped a lot because, like, I already understood the things, all the demands of the position itself. Like, the fact that you have to understand the whole offense and all these stuff. Like, I have been doing it for a while before coaching quarterbacks. So I think that really helped because that's just usual. As a player, I was doing it. So I can transition that to coaching. And I think and I heard that from one of my import quarterbacks last year, actually, Riley Cooper. He's in Germany now. He said, like, the fact that you played, like, clearly your coaching points come to, like, from a standpoint of somebody that was in the pocket in a moment and understands, like, how it is to be there, you know? Sometimes it's really easy for us as coaches to watch tape, like, all right, you should have done this or that, and, like, you just don't realize what the pressure really means. So that's something that I really try to acknowledge when I'm talking to quarterbacks. Okay, so I understand that this was the pressure you probably was going through A, B, or C, but that's what I'm expecting from you, like footwork wise or reading wise. So I think that really helps, even though it is really complex. I still have a lot of things to learn. In being like in the NFL for a minute, just a week, it was like you see like how many more details you still gotta learn or understand, like how much difference they make in a game that is so more, it's just faster, and you have even more details anyway. And I would say that this helped a lot. And you asked about like who I look for, like, and keep learning from. For sure, Coach Brian. He's in Mexico right now. He's the offensive coordinator at Pumas Acatlán, but he's a Brazilian guy. He's my head coach at the national team, and he was like, I think he was the coach that saw me like, okay, so once you decide to do the transition, like you're gonna be good. So he helped me prepare for this transition. Like he gave me my first shot as an intern during the pandemic, a remote internship as quality control. Anyway, like the way he sees offense and the way he coaches the quarterbacks, like I really learn a lot from him. And so I think like he always helped me on that. So it's good for me to have the opportunity to coach with him at the national team, because like I always speak some things that, okay, I think I can do this better for that, anyway.
Yeah, I love that you have pretty much like all the fundamentals down of just like coaching, and obviously it seems like you're learning with regards to like more so X's and O's. I kind of wanted to dive down a little bit deeper, especially since you're not a position coach, you're a head coach. What what are some things that you've been learning or just trying to implement with regards to like culture? I feel like that's probably like the hardest thing that head coaches have to go about implementing. And I mean, yeah, just I'd be interested in what you have to say about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the cool thing about being the head coach on the flag team. And like right now, I'm just a position coach in football, but at some point, I aspire maybe being a OC. A head coach, I don't have the ability to be, but OC, yes. And I think like being the head coach on the flag team, it's kind of my lab that I can go over like those things, especially culture wise. So these are the things that I believe, and try to put those into reality in the team and see like how that happens and like grow from there. But answering your question, once I knew I was gonna be the head coach, and I had to think of all that and bring something to the team, I stayed close to the values that I have while working with football. So I believe in excellence, I believe in effort, and I believe in teamwork. So these are the three main things that I am always talking to our players about. And like if you put together the words in Portuguese, like if you get the middle of them, it comes up with fun. I really believe you have to have fun playing football, especially in the context that we are at, as women playing flag football. If you're not happy playing football, if that's not something that really adds to your life, it doesn't make sense. So we need a safe environment. Of course, we want, like I said, we need excellence, we need effort, and then but out of that, it still has to be fun. Fun doesn't mean it's not serious, or that for sure that's the opposite, because we are really really serious in what we do, sometimes too much. I think other teams, they kind of make jokes about it, these, I want to say, 1 or 2 months ago, I'm going back and forth, but it will make sense. We were warming up to our first game. We started playing at 8 a.m. And like we have a really, I don't want to say strict warm up routine, but like it's everything is really planned. Like that's how we do in football, right? In flag, not necessarily. Like this is a culture that's changing now, but it hasn't been like that for like always. So I don't know. Our warm up takes, I want to say, 1 hour and 10 minutes total, like to go from the just regular, like the general warm up, then specifics, then perfect plays, whatever, all these moments and parts of warm up, and it was still dark. Like it was like the game was going to start at 8, so like 6:50 we were already on the field warming up. Like it was like the sun was just coming out. and then other teams were just arriving to the field. They were like, one of them like made a joke like, you are a meme already on the internet because like you were warming up and it was even dark. So that's something that our players and our culture we have that's really strong. Like everything we do with a purpose, and things are planned. It's just not random. That's something I always tell them, because sometimes as a player it's hard to buy what your coaching is doing. But I try to show them that everything has a reason behind. Like we're not just doing things because I want, because I don't have anything to do and I'm just being random, you know? So just to explain that the fun part not necessarily takes out all the commitment that we have with the process itself. So yeah, that's what I would say. Excellence, effort, and then being a team working together for real. So all these things I talked about, trust, that's something I talk to them about. Like that's not only on the relationship between me and you, but between yourselves, you know, or between me and the other coaches as well. That's something I truly believe in. And I would say that's the main thing. If you believe on it, like your daily actions are gonna match to those values, so you're able to keep those into practice. It's not perfect. We have our issues for sure. I have a lot of things to learn and be like I have to be better in some things too, culture wise. But I think we're doing a really good job of that.
I'm trying to go play for Esther. I want to go
You
play for
feel me,
Come
bro?
on, man.
I'm trying to figure out a way to get Esther out here for
I'm
some
ready to
camps and
run through
stuff.
a
You know
wall
what I
for
mean?
Esther.
Like you did. That's dope to hear, like what you're saying, but also know that you're practicing what you preach, right? Because you got a lot of people out there that will say all these things because it sounds cool on Instagram or it sounds
Yeah.
great for a podcast or whatever. But like you're actually doing this because, like, I mean, I did my research. I looked at everything that like you've been working with and all the stuff you've been doing, like through Instagram, Facebook, and all that stuff, like with your teams. People are buying into what you're doing. You know what I mean? People are ready to follow you. Like Jay said, like people are ready to run through a wall playing for you.
Yeah,
That
I think
like
so.
that is great for the game of football, not only in Brazil but across the world, right? Because I mean, we don't get a chance to see everybody, and now obviously Jay and I are from America, right? So we know what football means for us and how the
Brazil.
culture has been installed.
Yeah.
Especially being from southern states and playing down south, like it's live and breathe that stuff. So it's really cool to hear you say this and actually be doing it on a daily basis. But like you just got a huge opportunity, right? You just spent a week with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? You got to hear from some very big name coaches. What was that experience like, and what are some things that you took away from it?
Yeah, sure. It was amazing. Like, I mean, I have lived lots of great experience. It was for sure. If it was not the most transformative, it was one of the most ones, and it was super special. I think one thing that I was really impressed was the vision that the books had for this project and how everybody was like how everybody bought into it, you know? Everybody, like all the people, they were so welcoming, and the culture in the building itself, it was great. I mean, obviously, the time of the season that it happened, it allowed, especially the coaching staff, to be open to us. So we were just, I want to say, I think it was phase two from off season, and then the rookie mini camp. And like rookie mini camp was just unbelievable. Like the timing of the two things happening together was just perfect. I don't know if the other teams are gonna follow the example of the Bucks. Hopefully they will, because it's just amazing. I think for the team and for the people that get the opportunity to be there. And so during the week we had different panels with different people related to the organization itself. So for example, we had one that we had the coordinators, and they were giving some advice about like the transition, like, okay, so once you become a coordinator, things that they have learned in the transition and stuff, or early career advice from the position coaches, all these stuff, you know. And then from rookie minicamp was just football the whole day. I remember I was like waking up 4:30, going to bed 11. Like just when I was not having
The
meetings or in the
grind.
practice, I was just like studying the playbook and the installs because like I wanted to be ready to coach somebody, but I had no clue about the playbook. So
Out there
like,
studying like she gonna get cut.
yeah. That was pretty much feeling, and that was interesting because so I was waking up like 4:30 just to like wrap up the everything that I was reviewing the other night. We would have me and Coach Nelson. He was the other guy with the quarterbacks from the coaching academy. We would go to the building and I'm gonna say 5:30. So 5:45 we were there already. And Coach Thad, the quarterbacks coach, Thad Lewis, he would meet with us for like 1 hour and 15 minutes before breakfast just to go over the installs. So we would like be more ready once the quarterbacks were in. Like we would be a little bit in advance, and then we would go over like the whole schedule. So it was a packed day, but it was awesome. And Coach Thad especially, he was super open to help and answer questions. I was able to develop a good relationship with him during that time. I learned a lot. One thing that he always said, and like I'm always like I'm here in Brazil for 10 days now, and I already heard myself repeating it at least 10 times. Is he says over communicate, under assume. And that's related to the things that I was telling at the beginning about communicating expectations, whatever. And he was saying that to the NFL team, to the quarterbacks and to the players. So that was really, really cool to see. And that's something I learned, something really simple at the end, but sometimes we don't really pay attention on that. So that's one of the big lessons that I got home.
What was so you got a chance for rookie minicamp? Who was the quarterbacks in the rookie minicamp room with you?
Uh-huh. So we had Jeremy. I called them by the first name, so I have a hard time remembering the last names. That's something that I struggle, by the way. It was really hard for me being in the US and like remembering everybody's names. But it was Jeremy, Michael, and Zach. They were the three quarterbacks out there. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
What was that rookie mini camp experience like? So were you there when like they actually like at the end? Because how many guys they have for rookie mini camp? Like 70 to about 80, right?
Yeah, I want to say 50, 60, something like that.
Yeah,
It was,
something like that. And they only really kind of keep 20, 25 guys or so. So
yeah.
were you around when the guys got cut and stuff?
No, we were not. Because
Okay.
like rookie mini camp, like our experience ended as at the same time as the rookie mini camp. So like we didn't
Uh,
see like the follow up,
you didn't get to see the ugly part. Yeah.
No, we
Yeah,
didn't.
that's it. That's good. For talent wise though, being there at rookie minicamp, what was that like to see some of these athletes and the way they move? Like comparing it to what you're used to seeing in Brazil. Like obviously you've seen import players
Uh-huh.
come there and like you have some really good athletes I've seen myself down there in Brazil, but like you're talking about NFL guys, right? Like top of the top. Like they're
Yeah,
trying to make an NFL team. Like what was that experience like?
it was awesome. It was awesome to see. And the main thing that I brought home about it, when people ask me, that's always what I answer. It was crazy for me to see the speed and agility running really deep routes, like really, really deep routes. When we're talking about Brazil, we have fast receivers, but they don't run routes that go over 12 yards. Like, I mean, like thinking about where they change directions and cut, like that's 8, 10 yards deep. And we were talking about like 15, 18, 20 yards deep and then cutting, and doing that really fast. And the timing, the perfect timing with the quarterback just finishing the drop. So that was crazy to see. And just how fast they change directions. I think that's unbelievable. And like seeing the O line and D line going really hard on themselves without pads, that was a lot. It was interesting to see and watch.
Those boys up front are crazy. Now Jay can tell you all
Oh,
about that because he's a D lineman himself. But for
He
wow.
gets
me,
nasty up there.
yeah, I know you got to hand
Oh
it
yeah,
that the boys just go
he
crazy, and
does.
even with just those little shells on, like they got the shells are different than like
Yeah.
just wearing like a shoulder pads, but like the little soft shells, like they're literally going at it.
Yeah,
That's intense. That's
intense.
that's a super dope experience for you. Like a whole week with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you were there with Todd Bowles too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and then you had Coach Dungy, right?
Dungy was,
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
What was it like to meet? Because those guys right there are probably, I mean, Dungy right for there for me is like he's a Hall of Famer.
Did
yeah.
Dungy
He
speak?
is. Yeah. So we had
He
a
did speak.
panel. It was with him and Bruce Arians. He was like in a
Oh,
virtual. He wasn't that in person, but he was talking to us as well and participating like
What?
simultaneously. So yeah, it
that's
was like
golden.
NFL legends, whatever, whatever, like the name of the panel. So you can have an idea from there.
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, you were up there with some top notch coaches. Um,
Yeah.
so from all the stuff that you heard from them, like what are you taking back now to the national team, to Rio Preto, Weilers? Like what are you taking back with you that like you're I know you said the one liners you say every day now. Over communicate, under assume. Like
Yeah.
I know you're taking that back with you, but like from a coaching standpoint, like what drills have you taken back with you?
Right. Like the things that we saw there, honestly, are not that different from things that we already do. I think so that's one thing that was good to see. I mean, I was only with the quarterback, so I don't know about the other positions. But I don't feel like they were doing something totally different than what we do already. Like in thinking about like the practice schedule, like how one thing develops and goes to the other. Like that's pretty much what we do here in Rio Preto already. And obviously the conditions of it and the timing, the pace, and I don't know, the quality of it, for sure it's a lot better. I think it was more like showing me that we are doing really good and we are going the correct direction more than anything else. um so like I was paying attention more, I think, some details on transitions from drills and some small details of structure that they have that helps a lot doing just simple stuff like run mesh, for example. So we're just talking about exchange between the quarterback and the running back, and they had this, I don't know how to call it, it was like a long line, and they had like the O line alignment on it. I just don't know how to call it. I don't know if you guys
Oh, you're talking
understand
about
what I'm trying to say.
the mat that has like the center guards,
Yeah,
tackles.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah. So
yeah.
like that's just simple, but I have never seen it. And like that is just so much helpful because that's something we struggle here. Like, okay, so we're running just run mesh with the quarterback and running back. And sometimes I have to say, okay, so you are too close, you're too far, because they don't have a reference. And we, like,
Yeah.
for the running back, the O line is the reference. So like sometimes we put cones, but like cones are not the same thing. It can be a little bit confusing. So some just small details that like, and maybe for you guys, I don't know, play college, whatever, or for them that play in the NFL, it's just so simple and usual, but like I have never seen. So that's something, I don't know how we're gonna make it here, but I would like to try to make something like that to have on our practices, or even like the thing is like they had resources that we don't have here, especially human wise, but like how the coaches were always helping the quarterbacks during, like, I don't know, walkthrough, for example, and being the secondary or whatever, like giving specific looks for the quarterback, especially during walkthrough. That's something I would like to improve here, because like we run like the plays on air, and it is relevant, but like we already have routes on air. So like how can we make the walkthrough period better? That's something I don't have the answers yet because, like I said, we don't have the human resources that they have. Like maybe if we give just two specific defenders, that's gonna be good enough. Um, what else? One of the drills that Coach Stat and Coach Coach Liam, the offensive coordinator, um, one of the drills they were doing was just drop back, like clapping, throwing. They had like a variation of drop back hitch, throwing, and drop back flipping hips and throwing. That's one drill that I got, and I have never done it. I done like just I don't know, drop back in line. That's something that I have done, but I wasn't doing it like that with them, so I was able to just put in practice, like, I don't know, last week. So I would say those things.
Yeah, that's hey. I'm excited to see what you guys do down there, especially with your time that you spent and how you're gonna implement these things. You know, my kind
I'm a
of
fan.
I got two more kind of important questions for you. Five years from
Okay.
now, 5-10 years from now, where is Esther in this coaching game?
Both. That's
I
it's
mean, you're
always
still
tough
young
to
too,
answer.
playing too.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Like you're still super young in this
Yeah.
game. Not
Yeah,
like
for
us old
sure.
men right now, you know?
I think that's a hard question to answer because you guys know that working in football, like things just change fast. So like for sure working towards something, but like that's not really a close plan or vision that I have. But I would say like in 5 years I would like to be coaching in the US, like mainly. I don't know what level. Maybe like I don't really have the intention to coach college level. For sure if I have an opportunity on the NFL, you don't pass that opportunity. But like I see myself like in a high school maybe. Like I think that's something that really matches, I don't know, just like everything that I just talked about. I feel like I could be really happy coaching in a good high school, I don't know. So I would say that if I'm still playing in 5 years, for sure I I want to be working towards the Olympic team. I would be 31, but I think like I might be able to make it happen or something. So let's see how that goes. I don't know.
I love that.
It's not like it hasn't been done, you know what I mean? Like you could do it
Yeah,
at 31. You
yeah.
know, I mean, I'm
Yeah, don't
32
say
and still
that. I'm close to 31.
hey, I'm 32 and still playing. Jay
Don't
is
get my
freshly
hopes down.
30. So you still got an opportunity. And also for the people out there listening, if there's anybody that's coaching or knows somebody coaching at the high school level, Esther's open, you know, to come to the States and check it out. We might have some
Yeah.
phone
Exactly.
calls.
Flip
Might
it.
have some phone calls for you to come over here to Europe too.
Yeah, I
'Cause I know
mean,
some
and
teams that
that's
could
that
use your
that's the other
expertise.
point. That's the other thing. Like I'm talking about the US because I think like that would be the first shot. But like Europe or even like Mexico is another place. I have connections there, and like college football in Mexico is really good. So the next steps, like I love Brazil and I love what I do here, but I believe that I want to be able to live other realities of football as well. And that has to be outside. So
Yeah.
overseas.
Our boy Rashad's playing in Mexico right now. So
Yeah.
definitely had to hit
Nice.
him up and tell him we know a pretty good coach. But definitely, I'm telling you that you have an opportunity here in Europe because you know a lot more than I would say half these jokers out here. Just even listening to how you speak, even if we ain't going over
Genuinely.
X's and O's right now, I can
Right.
genuinely tell you that you are way more advanced than half of these coaches out here. All right, so keep
I
doing what you're
appreciate
doing.
it.
But
Thank
No,
you.
definitely.
my last question for you is what would be your biggest piece of advice for not only a woman but a male coach just now starting in this industry or has been in this industry for a minute? What would be your best advice for them?
hmm I think that would be like two in one. The first thing I learned it from my mentor, Coach Brian, I mentioned before, is be where your feet are. So like it's really easy as coaches, like okay, so right now I'm coaching here in Brazil and doing my thing and like being more focused on how can I get to the US and really doing my job here. It's not like you're not gonna have plans, but make sure you do your best where you're at right now, and things are gonna happen if you're doing a good job where you are. And when other people look at you to consider you for a job, they're gonna see what you have done at the place they're at, and it doesn't matter the reality that it is or the level of football. It's like, did you make an impact in the place that you are at? That's the difference that people are looking for. So, and that's something I learned, especially because I don't know, being a 26 woman and having plans, like it's easy to get anxious, especially those days. It's really easy to get anxious about the future. And that's something that keeps me grounded. Be where your feet are. Okay, just be where you are. And things are going to happen. So that's one thing. And the other is find a good mentor. Like that was the main changing aspect for me. I mentioned Coach Brian and Coach Alex. He's our head coach right now here in the Wilders, and he teaches me a lot. Like every practice, the relationship that we developed and how much I grow and how I'm a better coach because of him too. So you just need to find good mentors and learn from them and don't be afraid to ask questions. I would say that was the thing that brought me here, probably. Other than just putting the work, obviously.
I love it. No, that is key words right there, Esther. Like we gonna have to turn that into definitely some quotes that we gonna be posting on IG and
Nice.
everything.
Yeah.
But we got our last section now, Esther. Right? This is a
Oh.
new section that we have added in. It is our 90-second round. One word answers, right? It's
Oh.
gonna be 10 questions, right? They can be about football, they can be about life, they can be about randomly anything, right? And all you
Oh,
can do
God.
is one word answer, and you've got 90 seconds on the clock. How's that
I'm
sound for you?
nervous.
Don't be
Sounds
nervous.
alright, but I'm a bit nervous.
Don't be nervous. It's all fun questions. You'll do great.
All right.
All right.
All right, let's
so
go.
you ready?
Yes.
All right. Here we go. 90 seconds on the clock. Favorite pregame snack?
I like to eat potatoes.
Best coach you've ever had?
Mm. He was my one word. Sydney, that was his name.
Favorite NFL team?
I cannot answer that. That might be my job next time, you know? That's a tricky one. Skip, I don't want to answer this one.
All right. Pizza or burger?
Burger.
Favorite meal of the day?
Lunch.
Best athlete you've ever met?
That's a hard one. Best athlete. Gosh. That's not fair. Best
Come on,
athlete.
Esther, you got it.
You're on the clock.
Gosh, the best one. That's. I have
It's all right.
like
We'll skip
zero
it.
names.
We'll
I'm
skip
sorry.
it.
I'm the worst at this game.
No, your favorite pair of cleats?
Ooh, Alpha Menins.
Okay.
Nike.
You prefer flag or tackle football?
No, that's just. Are you talking about as a player, or as a coach?
We'll say as a player.
Okay. I don't know why I asked that. It's not easier. Okay. I'm gonna go with tackle foot.
Okay. I got two more for you. We'll knock these ones out. Who is the best receiver on the women's national team for Brazil?
That's just unfair. But I would say Thaisa.
All right. Last one. What is your number one flaw as a coach?
Ooh, number one flaw. Can it be like 2 words, maybe?
Yeah, we'll say 2
go
words.
ahead.
It has to be a sentence, actually.
Go ahead.
It's, I think, being afraid of being too hard on players sometimes. Like being too nice.
Respectable.
That would be it.
And that is episode number 12. Esther, we heavily appreciate you. Man, everything
Very
that you're
much
doing,
enjoyed
everything
it.
you're saying, like we loved every bit of it. To be 26 and hear what you're saying and what you're doing and what you're about to accomplish for the rest of your life. Hey, if anybody hasn't told you yet, we'll be the first ones to tell you we're proud of you. Right? Keep doing what you're
Thank
doing.
you.
And thank
Right,
you for
future
being on
future.
here with us. That is episode number 12. Again, remember, subscribe, comment, like, hit up Esther if you need to learn anything else
Yay.
about football. And again, thank you to Swagger Worldwide for dropping some gear. Hey, Jay, don't worry. I'll get you some gear soon too. All right, bro. All right, and we're
Awesome.
out.
Thank you, guys.